What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. In this one, I'm going to be going over the perfect auction draft on the Sleeper platform. I'll be doing a video series here. This will be the first one where I go over the perfect mock or the perfect auction draft or the perfect team build on Sleeper, and then I'll be doing one on ESPN and Yahoo as well, so I can cover the three major platforms. I spent a lot of time going through all the player values on each of these platforms, identifying which ones present themselves as the truly best values on each of those specific platforms, and this helps you sort of go into your draft with a sort of idealized roster in terms of understanding what you want to do going into your draft. Obviously, you're going to have to pivot in your draft. Some of these guys will go for more than what you'd expect them to. Other guys will go for a lot cheaper that weren't mentioned, so you'll have to take those values. And you have to really mix and match things. But I generally like to go in to my auction draft with some sort of a roadmap, maybe an idealized template, and I can sort of build from there. And it's sort of a fun way for me to do that is to go through each of these leagues and identify what the best values are and what the perfect roster build would be. I will note that for the purposes of this video, this is assuming a pretty standard roster with one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, along with 6 bench spots and a standard kicker and a defense. This is in a PPR format in a 12-team league as well, so just keep that in mind. If it's in a 10-team league, you'd expect players to be a little bit cheaper because there's less money in total in the total auction budget pool, but just keep that in mind. If you have any questions about how this would apply to your own specific format, I'm happy to answer those as well. But yeah, with that, let's get into the first player here. So starting us off with the quarterback here, I think truly the best value on Sleeper right now is Jalen Hurts coming in at $29. I've got him ranked as my quarterback 1, and he costs $11 less than Patrick Mahomes. He just really looks like he's a lock to be an elite performer this season. I'd be shocked to see him finish outside of the top 3, and his price tag is beyond reasonable, especially on this platform. All the other quarterbacks behind him, you see guys like Lamar Jackson go for $27, Joe Burrow go for $25, Justin Fields is about $23. All these other quarterbacks go for a really similar price, and I've got them at least a tier or two behind where I have Jalen Hurts ranked, so it just makes way too much sense to take Jalen Hurts here. It's a little bit pricey, obviously, but all the good quarterbacks are pricey on Sleeper, so you might as well just get one of the best ones. Next up, with our running back 1, this one might be a little obvious to you guys. I've talked about him all offseason. I think Nick Chubb's still a really great value here on Sleeper. Think he's got a legitimate shot to finish as the running back 1 overall this season. I've got him ranked as my running back 3, and he's only the 6th most expensive running back on Sleeper, which means he's already presented himself as a value. I love his value on pretty much any platform, but anywhere you can get a discount on him, which you can on Sleeper, it's a good place to do that. So Nick Chubb is pretty much an auto buy for me here on Sleeper. Up next, you might have guessed it, my running back 2 here, the best value you can get on Sleeper is going to be David Montgomery. He comes in at $12. That's a little bit pricier than what you see on other platforms, but I've been really vocal about believing that David Montgomery is pretty much a locked and loaded running back 2 this season. I think he's got upside to potentially finish inside the top 12 as well. And even though $12 is a little bit more than what we see on most platforms, I really just don't care. $12 for your RB2 is pretty much a steal. I think that he's going to be a legitimate top 15, top 16 guy this season, and he's got a ton of upside, especially if something were to happen to Jahmyr Gibbs. And he also represents himself as the end of a tier here. Even though there are a couple players that go for more expensive than him, you see guys like A.J. Dillon and Antonio Gibson going for around the same price as him. He's definitely a tier or 2 ahead of those guys, so it just makes the most sense to snag David Montgomery here as your running back 2, and it definitely saves money for you to go grab those receivers and the tight ends that you want, which you'll see here. First up, for my wide receiver 1, this one might be a little obvious as well. It's Chris Olave. He presents himself as a huge value in Sleeper. He comes in at only $22. He often on a lot of platforms is around $30 to $35. And I personally don't think it's unreasonable to pay up to about $40 on Chris Olave. I think he's going to be an absolutely elite performer this season. He stats out as my wide receiver 8 this year. I think he's just going to be an absolute monster. So getting Chris Olave for $22 feels like you're getting him about half off. And you just got to get him on Sleeper. So definitely do that until his price tag changes. Next up, for our wide receiver 2, I think Devonta Smith's another really good value here. He also comes in at a $22 price tag. I've got Smith ranked as my wide receiver 12 this season, and he gets to slot in here as your wide receiver 2. So getting 2 top 12 wide receivers is just really fantastic for your fantasy team. He's just a steal at $22. In most formats, you'll see him going for around $30 to $35. I think the 22 is just a hell of a bargain here. And Smith can honestly be a top 10 guy this season. He's obviously going to deal with some boomer bust weeks given that he's going to be competing for targets with A.J. Brown, but given that he's going to slot into your roster here as your wide receiver 2, I think that's perfect because you'll be able to absorb those boomer bust weeks because of the floor that the rest of your wide receivers are going to offer you. So Devonta Smith's a really great value here. He's like that tier 3 wide receiver that I think is really great value on Sleeper right now. For the tight end position, I think the best value here on Sleeper is going to be Mark Andrews. I love drafting Mark Andrews just about everywhere right now, and I think he's got a legitimate shot to be the tight end 1, although I'm not projecting that. He only costs $5 more than the tight end 7 on Sleeper, coming in as Darren Waller at $22, and he's just a tier or 2 ahead of all those guys. Given that you only have to pay a little bit more to get a significantly better tight end, it just makes sense. Sort of like with the quarterback position here on Sleeper, you just got to spend up a little bit and get that top tier guy. Mark Andrews is going to have an awesome season, and spending $27 for him is more than worth it. I've been drafting him pretty much everywhere, including Sleeper, and Sleeper is one of the places where he's just the best value. So especially on sleeper drafts, I find that Mark Andrews is the guy that I just have to have. Next up in our flex, I think the best flex option here is going to be T. Higgins. He comes in at a $19 price tag. I'm actually a little bit lower than consensus on T. Higgins by ADP, but damn, is he just a really nice flex option? Obviously, I think he would stat in for most people as a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. So if he's your flex, that's a hell of a nice option. He comes with a boomer bust profile, obviously, being the number 2 in the Bengals offense. But in weeks where he blows up, your team's going to be basically unbeatable, where you're going to have Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, and T. Higgins all performing well. And in his off weeks, your team here is going to be good enough to absorb that and potentially still win. I think that T. Higgins is perfect here. $20, $19 is just definitely a bargain for him. He comes in really continuing the trend here with these like tier 3, tier 4 wide receivers are just super valuable on sleeper, and they come in at a pretty low price tag. So I'm trying to buy as many of those guys as I can here. And then for our bench, just a quick rundown. Starting us off with our first wide receiver on the bench, I've got Christian Watson. He comes in at $8. I've actually been pretty far below consensus on Christian Watson most of the offseason, but normally he goes for like a $20, $25 price tag on sleeper. He's way cheaper, coming in at $8. He's just a definite value here. Deontay Johnson's another insane value on the sleeper platform. He's another guy that I'm definitely drafting here. In most leagues, you'll see him go for $15 to $20, and here he's coming in at $3. I think he's a really safe low-end wide receiver 2 this season. For $3, you just can't really pass that up. And then the next 2 wide receivers, I've got the rookies, Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston. I love their values on pretty much every platform. That just continues over here on Sleeper. And then to round out our bench, getting 2 more running backs, because obviously we are a little bit thin at the running back position, having only drafted 2 for our starting lineup. I think that Brian Robinson's a really valuable add here. In the off chance that David Montgomery is actually not as good as I'm projecting, or maybe you've got an injury or a bye week, I think Brian Robinson's going to get enough volume that you can play him on any given week. So for $3, slotting in as a guy that you can start, that's really nice to have. And then Khalil Herbert is your final bench spot. He's only $1. He could be the legitimate starting running back for the Bears. He's a good player if he gets the volume. So coming in as the last player on your bench, I think Khalil Herbert's a really solid add here. So taking a look at the final roster here, I think that the perfect team that you can draft in an auction draft on the Sleeper platform comes out with the quarterback of Jalen Hurts. Your 2 starting running backs are going to be Nick Chubb and David Montgomery. Your 2 starting wide receivers are going to be Chris Olave, Devonta Smith. Your starting tight end is going to be Mark Andrews. Your flex will be T. Higgins. You'll have any kicker or defense. You're going to spend only $1 on those 2 in pretty much every auction draft you do. And then on your bench, you're going to have Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison, and Quentin Johnston. And then you're also going to have Brian Robinson and Khalil Herbert to round out your bench. So that'll cost you a total of $198, given a $200 budget. So a little bit of leeway there. It's going to be a little bit tight, but I think this is really a plausible team that you could build. And I mean, just look at it. You've got the quarterback 1, the quarterback 2, probably top 15 running backs, 3 top 15 wide receivers, and just a really solid bench. So I'd be absolutely ecstatic leaving my draft with this team. I'd feel like I'm certainly poised to win my league if I could do that. So given all these values on the Sleeper platform, I would highly recommend a build similar to this. A lot of these players are really great values. I think in general, especially guys like Deontay Johnson, Christian Watson, they're way cheaper on Sleeper than other platforms, so I would certainly target those guys. The tier 3, 4 wide receivers, the guys like Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, and T. Higgins, they're also really insane values, so I'd target those guys as well. And then I would actually get an elite quarterback on Sleeper as well. They're just not that much more expensive than the lower tier guys, so you might as well pay up for them. So yeah, I really like this team. I'd probably give it like an A, honestly, not even an A-. I think it's going to be a really solid team, and I'd feel really confident going into the season. So that'll do it for the perfect team build on the Sleeper platform in an auction draft. Up next, I'll be doing the perfect draft in an auction league on Yahoo, so you guys can stay tuned for that one. After that, I'll be doing one on ESPN as well, so I'll cover the 3 major platforms. If you guys want more content like this, I know you guys have asked for a lot of auction content. I'm happy to do that. After these videos, I was thinking I'd do some perfect draft strategies for picks like 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9, and then 10 through 12 to sort of cover all of those as well, not be too focused on auction here. But let me know what videos you guys want. If you have any suggestions, I'm happy to put videos out as well. Definitely going to take requests there. And then thinking about maybe doing a mailbag as well. So if you guys have questions for that, I could certainly do a video just answering all of your guys' questions as well. So it's been a lot of fun making these videos. It's August now, so we're really getting into the heat of the training camp. The NFL season's right around the corner. We're 4 or 5 weeks away from getting into some really serious stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really here to help you guys do your best throughout the course of the season. So if you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up on YouTube. It really helps with the algorithm, really helps grow the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. If you want more content like this, which I think you should, I'm going to be here off season long to help you win your leagues. Please do subscribe to the channel. You can click the notification bell so you get more notifications when more videos come out. Be getting a video out pretty much every single day this off season, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.